We got Tom Hammond, District 5, newly elected Jeff Amco, District 3, and Aaron Albaugh, District 4, and Mr. Chapman, District 1. I mean, 2. Get it right here. Mr. Egan's going to explain the process a little bit, how we're going to go about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just in terms of a little bit of housekeeping and how we'd like to run the meeting this afternoon, welcome everyone here. It's a great crowd. I've got speaker cards here. As you've seen, if you've looked at the agenda, we have 2 items on the agenda. The first to deal with the disposal of the Febraury property, and the second to deal with the state of Jefferson. And what I'm going to ask on behalf of the clerk's office is if you plan on speaking, if you could grab one of these cards and put your name and which item you want to speak on, and we'll collect those and call them in order. The main purpose of that is so that when we do the minutes later on, we know who is speaking and who said what. So I'll step those over here. I've also got a stack of agendas for those of you who have not seen the agenda, and I'll put those over on the table by the donuts as well. When you do speak, if you want to come up, we're going to set this microphone up over here, and if you can come around beside it and speak directly into the microphone, that'll make sure that everyone can hear you. So that's it. Thank you. One other item on our first item, the Febraury properties, we're going to have 2 presentations by the 2 proponents who have submitted proposals to the county for the disposition of that property, and if we, as courtesy to them, if we could allow them to give their presentations and then have questions and so on after that. Thank you.
Okay, we've got the first presentation from the HSP report.
Good afternoon. My name is Hal Hayes, and I'm a partner in HSP Resources based here in Susanville, California. HSP stands for Furlong Surplus Properties. My background is that I worked in Northern California all my life. Grew up in the timber and logging and sawmill industry, and I currently own a construction company in Southern California with a branch office in Redding, California, and we perform mostly federal military work all over the western United States, 6 states in the Southwest: Arizona, Nevada, Texas, California, Utah, Nevada. And over the years, we've had the opportunity to do a lot of great projects for the federal government. I've done a lot of airfield work. We lengthen runways, we expand runways, we build runways. We're currently building a new airfield down in China Lake for the Navy, for the drone program, and we're well-rounded in a lot of work that would be involved in making this Furlong airport property be put back into reuse. I also take great pride, and I've been able to fulfill a lot of my dreams in my later years. I own properties in Northern California and cattle ranches in Tehama County, Modoc County, and then we also own property adjacent to this airport property out at the Amity Hot Springs that we're working out some development potentials on that property also. Our plan for the property is it's a big piece of property, but what do we do with it? Okay, when the BRAC gave the county or transitioned the property to the county back in 1999, 2000, or whenever it happened, they did a study about what the county could possibly do with the property to make it a feasible operation. And it outlined that there's, Susanville, Furlong's a tough place to be, as you all know, because you basically live here and make your livings here. But there is potential for a air terminal hub that would serve like the UPS carriers, the FedEx carriers, they're being asked to move out of the big metropolitan areas to curtail nighttime flights in and out of the metropolitan areas. The study also went on to show that Furlong has a better climate for the air flights because a lot of times when the Reno airport gets snowed in, Furlong is clear of snow. So our plan is to follow a lot of this outline that was drawn up in 1999-2000 and make this an air terminal hub that freight would come in from all over. It would be redistributed into smaller distribution planes and sent out to the various airports like Oakland and further south and to the back east and everywhere it needs to go. It's going to take a while to make it happen. I mean, it's not jobs next year, but there's studies that have to be done. There's a lot of money that's going to be spent to get the plans drawn up and the airport study that has to be done. There's a lot of money to be spent to make this thing happen. We feel that we can make it happen. It's going to be a great project, and it'll be a good project for the people of the county. Initially, the air freight companies, UPS and FedEx, would have to build large warehouse buildings where they can unload the modules that come out of the air freight planes, bring them in, they resort, they redistribute, take them to different planes. I would imagine in the early phases, if we're able to coax UPS and FedEx into the project, I can't imagine there'd be less than 300 to 400 people on a project like this. It's a great project. It brings a lot of jobs to the county, and it's just a matter of a lot of money needs to be spent and a lot of time spent to make it a reality. Any questions from the supervisors, or how would you like to?
There we go. Why don't we go ahead and take questions from, as we come along from each proponent. And like I said, if you don't mind coming up to the podium and asking questions so that everyone can hear, that would be great. Maybe if we could just, if there's a line, maybe we could form a line right in the center there.
My question to you is, in 2013, the defense authorization bill was passed. Are you working with the depot now on different projects, or working to work out projects that can be done on the airstrip?
We're working on projects right now with the base. We have meetings tomorrow with the base on some other large projects that we're discussing with the base. We do have opportunities within the base to support the airfield. There's a lot that's going to happen on the base now. They've been giving a new assignment, I guess, as far as bringing a lot of the war materials back and refurbishing them and warehousing them for future use. And we are working with the military for that operation as we speak.
My last question is to you. My understanding in the RFP, you're going to give back building 170, what we call the one-stop. What is the assessed value on that property?
I believe, I don't run the books of the company, but I believe the assessed value came up to like $150,000, but don't quote me on that. I think that's about where it's assessed.
Mr. Reed, do you know exactly what it is?
No, I don't, but we do have the assessor in the audience.
You only have 120,000 on that building. So you're going back to our community and the county, which was a big problem last RFP,
Correct.
and 25,000.
That's correct.
So you're actually giving the county $145,000.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Name for the recorder.
Pardon me?
Could you state your name for the recorder?
Forgot about me?
I know your name, Felix, but the recorder's on.
My name is Felix Flores.
Thank you.
I'm a resident of Furlong, California.
Thank you.
Jim Stevenson, got a quick two-part question for you. One, are you at the moment in negotiations, or do you have private-public work out there at the moment with your contract? And if that is the case, how important is it to have a private-public venture out there? Because at the moment there's hardly any work out there other than the contract for the place. Will it bring in future work and jobs for this area?
Yes, HST Resources is currently in negotiations with the base on a public-private partnership opportunity. And without a good airfield to serve that project, you might as well forget it. A base and a cargo terminal without an airfield is just not worthless.
So, to cut it short, without one and the other, you won't have much at all.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Marshall?
Thanks. Comments opposed to a question?
Yes, give you the name for the record, please.
Bob Marshall.
Thank you.
I'm Bob Marshall, General Manager of Plymouth Silver Electric. Our co-op has had a long commitment to quality of life in our region, whether from the start of the co-op to our broadband services, system reliability. Febraury Utilities Co-op was one of our kids, became HBUD. We brought a fiber optic line 4 years ago to our region to improve the quality of life. Now there's broadband competition in Susanville, rather vigorous competition, which is great. We launched 3 years ago something called Rec and Tech, which is recreation and technology. With broadband, you don't have to have the jobs here. You can have your job in the Bay Area and live here, and have your kids go to school here. Put kids in our schools, in the hospitals for hopefully fun injuries, that kind of thing. We are working with Plymouth, Lassen, and Sierra County. For the first time, the three counties are not fighting or wrestling over who gets the job. This is a great area. Come live where you want. Like the high desert? Head for the high desert. You like the rocks? Head for Quincy. Climbing the rocks, should I say. But it's all about quality of life. And I gotta say, what HSP has been finding is quality of life, is jobs. Yes, it's, I like this point about both the building being donated back, but we ourselves are in a public-private partnership at the base with the U.S. Army and working on a solar project that will have great tax benefits to Lassen County and has great benefits to the U.S. Army and ourselves. That's the kind of thing I want us to see. Things that provide jobs but also provide good middle-class jobs for our citizens is great. Yes, it's good load for the electric utility and it'll help keep rates down. Yes, self-serving, I know. But things that improve the quality of life and enhance the reputation, having jobs, not turning into a dump, I think is going to be great for our county because EDON, Economic Development Agency, Western Nevada, is saying there's going to be 51,000 jobs just from what's on the books right now that are attracting Reno. EDON people say there's no way Reno has that housing. They're going to come this way. They're going to come from the Plymouth, Lassen, and Sierra counties. That's great for us. It's great for Lassen, ourselves as utilities. It's great for broadband. And if we have jobs, we have development of a community that's really going to be robust with your proposal. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience?
I need SpencerCanmail.com. The proposal Mr. Hayes submitted to you for the $25,000 included a statement that he was in negotiations with the Sierra Army Depot. So our group contacted the Lieutenant Colonel Saucer, I think. I hope I can get his title right. And he emphatically stated on 2 emails that he doesn't even know who this man is, and he's never had contact with HSP or anybody associated with HSP. And we can provide you, if you like, copies of both emails from the Colonel. Second, nothing can be built out there. The county decided not to spend the $40,000 for the mandatory airport land use plan, and that has to be done. That's $40,000 to the county, and you're offering $25,000 for I don't know, 1,300 acres or something. You got Furlong for $25,000. You got that building that you so graciously want to give back. It came out to $173 you paid for this building. It had hundreds of thousands of dollars of repairs done in it, and weren't supposed to sell it in the first place. You haven't done anything for Furlong except to your own presentation. You painted a few buildings, put in a heater at the post office.
I don't think that's exactly fair. We've donated all the books back to the library. We've donated.
Wait a minute. Let the public speak and you can talk to you. You give it to Thank you.
You purchased the access property above the Amity parcels a month after the RFP was supposed to be released. It wasn't released until September. And then, because the problem with that property is access. And you, by buying the property above for access, you kind of told everybody that, well, I know I can get this property for $1.320. Cheap, like you did for Furlong. You haven't done anything for Furlong. You don't plan to do anything for Furlong. And the Amity parcels are contaminated. They're contaminated. My uncle was the commander at Sharp Army Depot in 1971. They had the same problem that Sierra has now, contaminated land. There's $4 million worth of, according to the Army and the EPA, $4 million worth of cleanup that hasn't been done yet. It's not safe for humans. It's not safe for people that work on that property. And you'll never, the biggest point is, you're never going to get access to that airport. So telling people that you're going to bring UPS planes in there and everything, it isn't. We've done our research. You're never going to be able to do that. To stand here, sir, and tell these people that you'll have access to that airport is just wrong.
If we're going to continue with public input, then we're going to have questions from the board, and you will have a chance. Anybody else wish to?
Sorry, go ahead. I have a question. My name is JJ Jimenez. I'm a local contractor. My question for you is, if you were to do a project of that size in Furlong, would you hire local contractors, subcontractors, and workers to work for you?
We always do. I own a construction company. And typically my goals are, because I work a lot for the utility companies, Southern California Edison, all the major utility companies, my subcontracting goals are 33% minority and local owned businesses. And I consistently hit those numbers everywhere I go.
Thank you.
My name is Janice Butcher. I'm the Executive Director for the Sports Safety and Resource Center. And I am a part of a nonprofit organization called Communities United for Children and Families. And in this whole transition of selling the property and whatnot, I'm also the facility manager for 170 DS Hall, which is the one stop, which is in negotiations with all this other stuff going on. And I wanted to share that in the entire time that I've dealt with HSP resources, they have been nothing but generous to our organization, having donated the contents of the Furlong Library, which are in Building 2067, they donated to our organization so that we can rebuild the library, bring it up to date, and provide an education center for our children and seniors and our community in Furlong, as well as a thrift store in the same building, which we provide free clothing and shoes and things that families need if they cannot afford to buy it. So in the short time that we have been dealing with them, they have been very generous to our community in that. And I'm sure that as soon as the gentlemen are able to move forward and accomplish something, things will be seen. Amen.
Thank you. Next, Mrs. Lebet.
Okay.
Tell your name to the record.
Tony LeBay, Pastor Standish Bible Church. My only concern, we in partnership with several other local congregations have been doing a youth ministry program. We're in our third year out there in Hurlong. Every Tuesday, I'm missing it actually right now, as is Janice, she works with us. We have a desire to utilize the facility. My concern is that we be allowed to continue to do that. I think it's been an asset for the community. I've been in there many times, and they've had food shelf, different things going on. It seems to be a focal point for the community. And we've been able to, on a lease from the county, sublet it from the county. We've been able to provide Pizzulo and Associates with a certificate of insurance, indemnifying them just so they're not liable for anything that happens under our watch. The net result is we've been able to continue serving the community, and our hope is that we can continue that regardless of who is the title holder. I think it's a valuable resource, and we look forward optimistically to working with whoever may end up with it. But we are just concerned that that be able to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Anybody else?
Yeah, Jim Hodge. I can't speak to the contamination issue. I don't know enough about that and how it would be taken care of. But the idea of bringing jobs to our county and bringing tax revenue, I think, is really important. We need both. The increased costs we have to the jail, the increased costs we're going to have now with Prop 47. I mean, there's just a lot more bills are going to be coming at the county, and I don't know how else we pay them unless we increase tax revenue. So I'd say give this a serious consideration.
Thank you, Jim.
I had a couple of questions. The first one is, should this project go forward, what is the anticipated time for the creation of these jobs? And then the second question I have, are there any other companies outside of UPS and FedEx that would also be involved or are entertaining coming into the area?
Okay, we anticipate at least 3 to 4 years of initial studies, consultants, putting the deal together. A project that's probably as large as this one is doesn't happen overnight. You just can't snap your fingers and it happens. It takes a long time to go through all the different studies. Jobs will start the minute the project starts. I mean, there'll be construction workers to build the big buildings, the warehouse facilities. There'll be jobs for the forklift people, the warehouse people, the plane people that unload the planes and so forth. And what was the second part of the question?
Is there any other companies that...
Yeah, there's, even in the initial 99 report, there's a lot of different freight companies that handle air freight. We envision, much like you see in Southern California, as you travel through Mojave, there's like an airplane storage yard there where the airlines that are terminating old planes or just putting them in mothballs due to the economy or high fuel prices, that they could also store planes here at this field. It's a good place because of the high desert, the low moisture content, and it's a good place to warehouse planes.
Okay, thank you. All right, seeing that, I'll move back to the board for questions.
Al, there seems to be a question about your private-public partnership and having communication with the base. Is that true or false?
We are going to meet the base, I believe, around 11 o'clock tomorrow. If you want to be at the front gate, I'll wave to you as I go through the gate to meet with the people inside again.
You stated in your bid, your negotiations.
This is not
a lot. This is Spencer. You're online.
Yes, we are in negotiations.
So your future plans are including the runway, which is very, very critical for the development of our county, I believe. You're just getting started on this stuff. You haven't contacted anybody, right?
It's hard to sell something when
That
you don't
have, right?
and put all the effort and money into it, develop it, when you don't have a stake in it yet.
Right. What kind of a time frame are you going to hit the ground running? When you get this thing, if you get this property, what's your time frame on getting started with marketing the runway?
The first order of business is this airfield study report that the lady referred to. That has to be accomplished. That would then be our burden to do, not the county's. We would have to do the airfield study in order to market it to the air freight terminal companies. So that would have to be done. There would be a lot of hearings before the Board of Supervisors. Again, I would think at that point to develop our plans, keep moving the project forward. It takes a while to get everybody on the same page, get all the large UPS, FedExes, and all the other different air freight companies in the deal and pull them together.
Now, I looked at your website, and I noticed that you do a lot of Department of Defense work. So you have staff that's fully committed to working with the Department of Defense already in place.
We have for the last 15 years, yes. We built projects from El Paso, Texas, to Honolulu, to Utah, you name it, we do it.
My feeling without a public-private partnership, that runway will never get off the ground. That is so critical to that, and I like hearing that you've already started that process.
That's correct. Yes, we are working on various public-private partnerships inside the base, and our meeting is again tomorrow morning to further those negotiations.
My question goes back to the question of the valuation of the Febraury one-stop property. What was the value on it again? My clarification.
I believe the assessor clarified it at $120,000.
Okay, so it's $120,000 today, but yet when that property was initially taken over, the entire bid on the proposal for the first go around on the town properties was, correct me if I'm wrong, for just a little over $30,000.
I believe it was like $31,900.
Okay.
We've not made a cent per month yet. We're releasing the one-stop to the community for $1 a month. We're releasing the library for $1 a month. We donated the books back to the library group. We're donated the old wooden barracks to a nonprofit. We're donating the newer barracks and the cafeteria to a nonprofit. So to say we've not given the community anything yet is offensive.
Okay. And I appreciate that. I never once questioned. I was just questioning the value of it because back in the time when all this was going down after the initial property release, you know, that the parties, everybody probably weren't involved in it at the time, but the parties at the time said yes, they knew it was included, and other people said it wasn't. Anyway, it was just a controversy, so I was just curious on what your valuation was and why. So thank you.
Thank you for being here as well. Just had a couple questions, and it's really kind of more of an observation, and we've been taking some good notes, and I appreciate the comments that have been made by the audience as well. The RFP was about 50, 60, maybe 70 pages in length, with a lot of boilerplate, legalese, and details and so forth, and also restrictions or advisories as to problems that have to be dealt with. Then the response to that came back. Yours was about 33 pages, and the other one was 8 pages. And obviously, it's trying to kind of get a feel for the company, their experience and background and so forth. The last 4 pages basically could fit on one sheet, and it kind of basically addresses the 5 points that the RFP asked for in terms of conversion plan, personnel that's assigned, the conflict of interest policy, compensation, and the condition of the property. And the bulk of your response, basically outlines, the track record of the company, which I have to say from reading it and reviewing it is extremely impressive. but you're just one of the three partners. And what I thought was kind of interesting was the fact that the track record of your other two partners, Mr. Smith and Mr. Pizzulo, has nothing in this particular area. So, I mean, I think obviously they're relying on the work that you've been doing from what I hear. And I just think it's important that you note for the record that